Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish Podcast. On today's episode, we've got a guest that's been a parishioner at Nativity for over 40 years. And she talks all about what Christmas Eve was like in the beginning versus what it looks like now. How Christmas Eve used to feel like more of an obligation at Nativity, and now how it feels more like a celebration. And she's got some great tips for your parishes and for your pastors to help get on board and make some changes to make it an incredible Christmas Eve celebration. We'll see you inside the episode. Well, hey, Eva, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
I'm so glad. Thank you very much for inviting me to come.
Well, this is exciting because as we're in Advent right now, I think it's going to be a great time for our listeners to hear from a longtime Nativity parishioner turned volunteer minister who's been involved for, I think we're probably at decades at this point now, which is incredible. So you've been there from the very beginning until, even now. So I'm excited for everyone to get to learn from you.
Well, this is so exciting. First of all, let me just tell you a little bit about me. I've been married 50 years, and I'm a retired dentist. And my husband and I have 3 children and 8 grandchildren. We are so blessed. And I think my history only goes back like maybe 40 years with Nativity, but my husband's goes even further. Because his family lived in the parish when the parish was brand new. In fact, they didn't even have a building, and they had mass in the local middle school, which is right across the street from where the actual church is now. And they had to set up chairs and take down chairs. And my husband was in college at the time, and he was taking down chairs after the Sunday masses. So his goes way back farther than my membership. And when we bought a house and moved back into the parish, again, we joined the parish. And then my children started going to school, and we went to a parochial school. So we had dual citizenship because Nativity didn't and still doesn't have a school. So we had dual citizenship. So, that's my history. I became parish council president and have done lots of different ministries.
Well, Eva, I think it's so cool that not only have you been a Nativity parishioner for over 40 years, but your husband was an original parishioner. So back before there was even a building, setting up chairs and taking them down after every mass, that is so much work. So this is fun getting to hear from you because you've got some incredible insights.
So, well, thank you.
Yes. Now, take us back to the early years. What was Christmas Eve at Nativity like when you first began attending?
Well, it was probably like a lot of other churches. People were all dressed up because it is Christmas. They were all dressed up, and the church was decorated, nothing super decorated. The Nativity, we are Nativity Parish, right? You know where the Nativity was? It was hidden in the chapel. You had to leave the sanctuary and go to the chapel on the side. So if you didn't know if you weren't a Nativity parishioner, you wouldn't know that it was there. And we have a lovely, lovely nativity scene.
Oh my gosh. So the nativity scene, which is this is the highlight. This is what we're talking about on Christmas Eve at Mass. And you are Church of the Nativity. That was hidden. So anybody who doesn't go every week would have no idea where to go find it.
Would have no idea.
Oh, that is wild.
No idea. So,
that is wild.
Which is kind of crazy, right? So Anyway, the music was traditional, but honestly, it felt pretty much like every other Sunday. You knew it was a special day, but the whole Mass experience was felt like an obligation. You know, you have to go to Mass on Christmas. It's a holy day of obligation, right? That's what we call it. But it wasn't that it was like super, super special. So,
Which is sad because it's such a special day.
it is. It's like one of the
Wow.
very top two, right? Christmas and Easter.
Yes.
So, anyway,
Yeah. Now, talk
go
to us,
ahead.
Eva, about what was that culture like there? What was the feeling? You said it didn't seem like a special day. Well, what was the vibe inside, especially with things like saving seats, the atmosphere in the sanctuary, and how were newcomers received and welcomed?
I'd say it's probably pretty much like in other churches. You know, there's a lot of people coming that aren't normally there. The parking lot was messy, both coming and going. The going always got me because you were just in Mass, right? So why are you getting angry at somebody trying to get out before you? That kind of felt kind of weird. People rushing in to save seats. And then they would save a whole row. You know, they would put their coats and their scarves and everything. And then that poor, I don't even know if we had newcomers at the time, to be honest with you, because it was not really growing. Our parish was kind of stagnant. But we certainly had people that only came twice a year. So it just reinforced for them why they weren't coming the rest of the year.
So they weren't feeling welcome when they
I
came
don't
if they
think
were
that
only the
no, it was like, okay, you're here. Oh, and by the way, why are you in my seat?
Ooh,
That's where I sit every Sunday. What are you
yes,
doing here?
yes.
Right? So it wasn't really a good vibe.
Wow.
I didn't
Now,
feel that, but I can only imagine a newcomer feeling that.
right. You were comfortable. You had been there for a long time. Your husband was
Exactly.
a founding parishioner. So that anybody new or somebody who only came during those special masses
Right.
would not feel welcomed.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
Eva, when did you start sensing that something needed to change for Christmas Eve so that it could be more welcoming? And how did you help with that?
Well, I think I just can't remember when we started when I started being in host ministry. Actually, when host ministry started, I know it was in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And I, it was stressful coming to Mass for Christmas Eve Mass. And as I hosted, it was obvious that people were disappointed and sometimes frustrated. And they would let me know, like, what do you
Yeah.
mean we can't fit 10 people right in this 5-person spot? You know, or what do you mean? I came an hour early and now you want me to squish into this row so that you can, fit 3 more people in here. So there was a lot of, it was frustrating for those people. What else and of course, like I said, the parking lot was always an interesting thing. So it was, all in all, it was just hard to come to Mass.
Yes.
So it
Well,
wasn't a joyful.
yeah. Well, and I'm so glad you said it wasn't joyful because the last thing people should be feeling when coming to Christmas Eve Mass is stressed. It should be joyful. It should
Exactly.
be hopeful. It's a special sacred time.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it wasn't that.
Oh,
So,
so what were some of those early conversations or first steps that the parish took to begin shifting that culture?
well, it wasn't a culture about Christmas, actually. And it's funny that you're asking me that because really the change didn't come at Christmas.
Tell us when it
It
came.
came during Lent, which
Oh,
is kind of crazy, right?
yes.
Why we're talking about Christmas, but and I can't remember exactly the year, but purpose driven life had come out. And so Father White decided that that would be a good book for us to read as a parish. And he preached during that time the purpose-driven life. And so I think everybody started understanding that things were not as good as they could be. And Father was preaching, what ultimately became our mission: love God, love others, and make disciples. And so as we learned from that, we started becoming more welcoming just during the rest of the year. And ministries developed because we learned that it was about us serving, not being served.
Right.
And so the greeters and the hosts and the parking ministers, and coffee and donuts, because that was an integral part to the beginning too.
Always helps.
Feed them, give them coffee, and they're happy, right? So, no, I'm only teasing. But yeah, that became a time when people could just gather and be happy to be making new friends or seeing old friends or whatever in church. So all of that, change started happening at Nativity. And so when Christmas came, it was just like, and all the following Christmases, it was just an extension of that. Father was preaching during Advent, and he was already beginning the series. So he preached about whatever the topic was. Like this year, it's hope. So every year there is something. One year, I think it was light. And anyway, so he would prepare his series in that way. And then there was a certain amount of spiritual preparation for that. And there were announcements that would be made about Christmas Eve. And, we had video screens, and there is a famous video that we still show, one of the originals, and it's pretty funny. And so there was a lot of excitement that was made, and that it was about welcoming newcomers. So all sorts of things happened, come to think of it. Things like we're always worried about getting people to serve, but it was presented that it was an opportunity to try out serving just one night, just one opportunity. You went in and you served for a couple of hours. And you could see what it was like to serve. That was all part of the change in the culture. And so it just was easier as time went on, we had increasing numbers, but anyway.
So how did the community react to all of this? Were people open to some of these changes, or were they hesitant?
Well, first, change is hard.
Yes.
Especially when your parishioners, a good chunk of those parishioners, were the ones that built the church. I mean, we were still a young parish, and many of those people that had started in that middle school going to church and had given the money for that new sanctuary, well, they had ownership, right? So that was their pew,
They literally paid for it.
They literally paid for it. And by the way, you mean you want me to move so that, no, first of all, this is where I always sit every Sunday.
Right.
That whole mentality was hard. It was hard for those people to change. And, sadly, we lost some of them. Because they didn't like that. They weren't getting that message. But I will say that the parishioners that did stay, they became our biggest advocates because they could see the change that was occurring at Nativity. And so they could see more families that were coming, and they could see the growth that was occurring, and the relevancy of church for us.
At Rebuilt Parish, our mission is simple: to make disciples by helping parishes make disciples. Every day, we see lives and communities transformed when parishes come alive in faith, when people who've drifted away come back to church, and when priests and parish leaders are equipped to lead with confidence and vision. That's what your generosity makes possible. When you give to Rebuilt, you're not just supporting a ministry, you're helping transform lives. You're helping people encounter Christ, deepen their faith, and share it with others through thriving, mission-driven parishes. If you believe in the mission of renewing parishes and bringing people into closer relationship with Christ, please consider making a gift of any amount today. You can learn more or make your gift now at rebuiltparish.com/give. And together, we're making disciples, one parish at a time.
Talk to us a little bit. You mentioned that these new ministries started emerging as a result of the first message series with the Purpose-Driven Life. Now, how did roles like ushers, greeters, hospitality teams evolve during that whole transformation? Because now the parish is growing, so you're getting more people on Christmas Eve. Talk to us about what that looked like.
What I didn't recognize at the time, but now I do because I understand the concept of having these layers of leaders. So when in the first initial stages, we started having, the staff were the leaders, and then they brought in 2 or 3 people. In fact, that's how I got involved with the host ministry. We had a gal named Maria, who's still a parishioner, who was working at Nativity, pretty much fresh out of college. And she came as a youth minister, and then she became an adult ministry. That was her thing. And I think when she decided, she just got several people, that including me, that are extroverts. And she said, hey, I think you're perfect for this role, and this is what we're thinking. And so the host ministry was born that way, with about 3 or 4 people.
Okay.
And then as that grew, we had somebody under us. And then at each service, at each mass, there's somebody. So there were these layers of people. And that transferred to the Christmas, where the numbers of ministers grew because we were getting more and more people. So, and we needed them physically to be there because we had people everywhere at Nativity. We had the small sanctuary, which seated, I think it was around 750 people.
It's the current theater now, right? For people who have maybe been on campus for conference. Okay.
Right. The original sanctuary is where the theater for youth ministry is now. And then we had them in the Cafe Vista, which is across the hall where the fireplace is, and in the hallway, and back where the classrooms are.
Wow.
Eventually, we even had a tent up.
Wow.
And so, we had people that had to be everywhere. We had, whether you were a host minister or an EM, or, you had to have people in all of these different places. So to make it happen. So consequently, those layers of leadership was great because you could take your ministers that come every single Sunday and you can move them for one day into a position of leadership. And then they would get a chance to check that out. And then you knew also who would be a good leader and not a good leader based on how that worked out. So,
Right. Oh, that's incredible. Now, Eva, you talked about everybody was kind of everywhere. What did that feel like, especially for somebody who maybe this was their first time coming to Mass at Nativity, not being able to actually be in the sanctuary?
well, it was kind of weird because for us, we were already used to the audio visual. It was increasing. It isn't what it was today, but it was increasing. So we knew that, hey, we may, if we didn't get there early, we may end up being not in the sanctuary, right? Because we encourage people not to save seats in the sanctuary. They could save seats elsewhere. So that kind of encouraged them to move into other areas. But if you're a newcomer and you're expecting to go to Mass and you're channeled into a room, not the sanctuary, where there's folding chairs and a big screen, and the priest, Father White, would always say, "Hey, hi over there, people in the in the Vista Cafe, or here or there," and he would wave. It was like, okay, this is strange. I was coming to Christmas Mass and I'm watching a big video screen.
Right.
So, and it wasn't a sense of community, because we were all in different rooms. And it's funny, I was talking to my husband about it and we were like he said, when people come to our house, if we have dinner for 6 people planned and 2 more people show up, we just add 2 more seats.
Right.
If all of a sudden a whole family joins us, so it's more than just 2 more seats, well, then we just add another table.
Right.
But we try to keep it all in the same room because that's community. You want to share a meal or a special moment like Christmas Eve with a community. And when they're scattered all over the place, it's hard to get a sense of community.
Yes. Now, do you have a moment when you realized this is different? This is what Christmas Eve should feel like. Talk to us about that shift.
Well, that shift occurred. Father White one day said, "Hey, I need your opinion on something. What do you think about us having Christmas Eve Mass at the fairgrounds, which are about, I guess, 1.5 miles from church?"
Yeah, super close. You pass them on
Super
your way.
close. Super close. So I went, "What? You want to go to the fairgrounds?" And he said, "Yeah."
You were probably one of the first people he asked as parish council president.
So I looked at him and I went, "This is crazy." But he said, no, just listen, which is hard for me sometimes. I said, "Okay, what?" He said, "First, lots and lots of parking.
Yes.
Second of all, people can save seats for their family and friends. They can all sit together. And we'll make it look really nice in there. And everybody can be in one place." And I went, "Wow, I'm sold. Let's do it." Well, it started in the exhibition hall, and 2 years, just 2 years, we outgrew it.
So about how many people can fit in the exhibition hall?
I think it was probably just about what we could fit in all of the spaces at Nativity.
Okay.
But by the second year, it got so crowded in there. I remember the first year, we had to open doors because it got so hot in there.
Wow.
And it's wintertime, right? Winter in Baltimore. So the following year, it was standing room only. And there was a
Whoa.
little vestibule to that, and we were out in that vestibule as well.
Wow.
So then Father White said, okay, it's time to move. And now at the fairgrounds, there's the cow palace. During the state fair, that's where they put all of the livestock.
Right.
So we went to the cow palace, which is appropriate. I mean, it is Christmas, right?
And your church name is?
And our church name is Nativity. So, it's a really large stable during the fair. But anyway, I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. That first Christmas and in subsequent, you could not tell that you were in the cow palace. They decorated it with curtains and lighting, and the music was just incredible.
Wow.
And everybody could be with their friends and family. There was no stress. But I have to add one thing. Besides it being not stressful for the guests, it was also not stressful for the people that were serving, because there is we don't use the entire cow palace for the church. We fit somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people, I think, in the actual service area. But on the other side, behind the scenes, is a whole nother space where all of the people that are serving can come in, drop off their coats. They can have a bite to eat. There's coffee and donuts, sandwiches, because some people are serving for several hours. They do both masses. So it was not only accessible to the guests, but it was also accessible to the people that were serving. And it was fun because you got to see all the people that you know and all of that before you went to serve and do your thing that you were supposed to do. So, and pray, because we always pray before.
Yeah. So you've got your own ministry suite set up in there too. So it's just like when you're serving at Nativity, it's just a different location.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. I love that. That's incredible. Now,
but
Eva,
wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh,
you asked me
more?
Yeah. You also said, get me going. And so there was an aha moment for me. And the aha moment, because you said, what was it that made it feel special?
Yes.
It was, like I said, all being in one space. And the peace that came when families would come in and they would sit down and they could save a couple more, and you didn't have to worry about fitting them in. But really the culmination of the Mass for me was the biggest aha moment. And that is our candle ceremony, which, if right after communion, at the very end of communion, Silent Night starts, and the hosts light the candles all on the edge, on the ends of the rows, and then the entire 4,000, 5,000 people, even little kids. It's a little bit of I'm not going into the fire thing, but we pass that light on and everybody's candle is lit. And then the Christmas tree lights start getting brighter and brighter. And the music is great. Everybody is singing Silent Night. And the camera scans the whole congregation. And it is, honestly, it made me cry the first time I saw it. Mm-hmm. And every year now, it is just like, wow, Christ is the light of the world. And we pass it on to each other.
Oh my gosh.
during the end of Mass to Silent Night. And I still, it's still like, wow,
I
it's quite a
love
moment.
that.
It's quite a
Yes.
moment.
Oh my
So,
gosh. That's just
so
incredible. You're making me want to come to
well,
Mass
come,
for Christmas
come.
Eve.
So I think it does get televised. And we
Yes,
have,
it is recorded.
probably people are wondering, well, how can you have 4,000 people or 5,000 people and still see the altar? Well, we do have big screens.
Yes.
We do have big screens, and you can see up close and personal on those big screens. But at any one moment, everybody in that place can look over and see the altar. So you're still in the same presence, you're still in the same room. And all of that led for me, that first time that I had that aha moment, it was, wow, this is Christmas Eve Mass as it should be.
Yes.
It's the actual beginning of the Christmas celebration for me. It's not an obligation. I cannot start Christmas now, celebrating Christmas, until I go to that Mass.
What a transformation. Because Eva, at the beginning of this conversation, you said the whole vibe, the whole feeling was it's an obligation. We have to get through this. It's a holy day of obligation. And now it's a true celebration where it fills you and you can't start your Christmas season without it.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Anyway, it's been transformational, and to go back to that whole thing about making evangelization, as part of us,
yes,
of bringing those, we even have it up on the billboard for the state fair. It's like, what are you doing on Christmas Eve? Join us. So we get people that are just driving along York Road, which is a big thoroughfare.
Yes.
For the whole month of December, I think that sign is up. So we do get drop-ins, and then Father invites them to join us at our church. And I can't help but think that some of those people don't drive through our parking lot during the rest of the Christmas holidays just to see where is this place and what is it. And if you look at any picture of Nativity, you'll see those big windows. Well, those big windows, there's a lot of light everywhere. There's garlands that are just hanging down. And in the center, the very center of the building that you see from the parking lot, guess what's in there? In a big, beautiful glass, like storefront, is our nativity scene.
I was going to ask, is it the hidden nativity scene?
The hidden nativity scene. It's right there. And it's fun. The whole lighting is fun. It's like, wow, this is where I want to be. This is joy. This is happiness. And lots of Christmas trees that are decorated with white lights. And this nativity scene. Oh, and there's a nativity scene. And then at that entrance, there's also a big lit up wreath that you can bring your family there, and you can put them in the center, and hopefully the kids will all look in the same direction. You can get your Christmas family picture right there. So it's like, it's amazing how we make it about bringing others in, and then we have our church like, okay, this looks like a place that I want to be. There's joy, there's happiness here. They're going that extra mile for me.
What if your parish could experience renewal that starts with inspiration and leads to real transformation? At Rebuilt, we love sharing the message of parish renewal, how ordinary parishes can reach the lost, engage the faithful, and build thriving communities of disciples. Our team travels to parishes and dioceses across the country for keynotes, workshops, and parish missions, including Lenten missions that invite people to encounter Christ in a fresh way. If you're planning your next parish event, conference, or mission, consider bringing Rebuilt to your community. Whether it's a single talk or a full weekend experience, we'll help your parish dream bigger, take the next step, and imagine what's possible when renewal begins. Visit rebuiltparish.com/speaking to learn more and start the conversation today. Let's rebuild the church together.
What a difference.
Anyway.
What a difference just from the way things were in the beginning to now, and how Christmas Eve has truly become not just a celebration, but a time for evangelization where newcomers are not just welcomed and embraced, but they actually come back, which it's just incredible. That's the whole point.
And all the parishioners, even though there's 4,000 of them, they're all saying hi to each other, whether they know them or not, or just making a comment, wow, I like your dress.
Yes.
I love that outfit. And people feel like, okay, they noticed me. People just want to be noticed.
100%.
So.
Definitely. Now, Eva, for the parishes out there who want to make some changes, what encouragement would you offer them to help them make their Christmas Eve Mass more welcoming, but they're not sure where to begin?
Oof. First of all, pastors, get on board.
Yes.
Preach.
Yes.
Preach that that we want to welcome people. That this is a time to bring people to Christ. It's a great opportunity. And then I think you need to look around around your parish, around your church. Let's just look at the physical thing. Is it, how many obstacles are there?
Yes.
How many parking spaces are there? Oh, you don't have enough parking spaces? How are you going to get more parking spaces? We had shuttles for a while.
Wow.
Remember all the people in all those different spaces at Nativity? Well, we arranged for satellite parking for all the ministers.
Oh, that's wise. I love that.
And we had shuttle services. We hired some buses to drive people back and forth. But that eliminated a bunch of cars from the parking lot so that those newcomers could find a spot more easily. So anyway, there are ways to look to get around things without a tremendous amount of expense. But there's a lot of other things that don't cost any money. First of all, is your church clean?
Right.
I don't know. My house is always cleanest just before a party. You would think I would
100%.
clean after the party? No. For the party, right?
Yes.
So, and I think we all do that. But do we do that in our church? Are the bathrooms sparkling clean? Is the glass on the door full of handprints? None of that costs any money.
Right.
And then, is the church decorated? Or is it just, we got a couple wreaths up, a couple poinsettias on the altar? Or is it really like a wow moment, like this is special? And then, are the parishioners smiling? Are they encouraged to smile and to say hello to each other? And are there greeters at the door saying, "Hey, Merry Christmas, we're so happy you're here"? Everybody's got some extroverts in their parish. Tap them, get them to go out of their way to be extra nice. And anyway, so a lot of things can just happen by changing the people's hearts.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh. Eva, you have just given us so much to think about, so many ideas. And thank you for sharing so authentically, too, about what things were like and what that process looked like, and now how that end result and culture change feels. It's just incredible.
well, I just hope that other parishes can make it such a special, special day. Or it is already a special day. We're not going to make it a special day because it already is, but that we can make our celebration of it a real celebration, not an obligation.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. That's the common theme. Celebration, not obligation.
yep. So I've thoroughly enjoyed. I can't begin to tell you how many hours I've thought about all of the changes. It's been a long time. So sometimes the memories kind of get a little confused. So between my husband and I, now we'll have other things to talk about because we talked a lot about this.
Well, I appreciate you sharing so much of that history, and it just, what a blessing this will be to those parishes out there who just need some ideas on how they can be more welcoming on Christmas Eve and transform that experience from obligation to celebration. So thank you, Eva, for pouring into our listeners today. We appreciate it.
And thank you for the opportunity, Melissa. You were great. You guided my conversation. Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And to all of our listeners, thank you. And we'll see you next time.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.